Our first look at layer masks has actually already happened. Do you remember those adjustment layers we used when we were adjusting photos back in week 3? Well, they had a layer mask on them, and I'll show you how this is. So here I have my picture, and what I want to do is make everything black and white except for one apple. So I know in my adjustment panel I can apply a black and white adjustment layer by clicking on the black and white button. It's in the middle row, looks like a black and white rectangle. And then I'm just going to close this properties panel so it's not in my way. So we've seen this before. We've had the black and white adjustment, and we know that there's that layer beneath it. But what's this white thing on the right? Well, that is a layer mask. And a layer mask affects how much of the layer it is on is either visible or invisible. So to make that apple red, one of the things we could do is to paint black into that area. In Photoshop, black conceals and white reveals. So currently this thumbnail is all white. Everything about that layer adjustment is revealed. We want to hide some of it. So grab your black, and you can get black by hitting D for default and X to switch black to the foreground, or you can just click on that square and select black. Grab your brush tool, right click, and change your brush to be a fairly good sized with 0% hardness on the edge. And in your layers, make sure that the little brackets are around the white thumbnail that's next to the layer adjustment symbol. And now if we paint out here with black, instead of painting black or ruining our picture otherwise, it's actually revealing the layer beneath it. So when you paint black into a layer mask, it conceals that part of the layer that you're on. Now, if you ever want to actually see the layer mask, all you have to do is hold down Option on a Mac or Alt on a PC and click on the thumbnail. So this is what we actually just painted, and I could even continue painting in here, but I can't see my fruit, so it doesn't do me much good at this point. To go back to the other view, just hold Option and click on that thumbnail again. Like painting with paint on any other thing, you can also adjust the opacity. So like when we were creating brushes, if we had a brush with a solid black area, it would be completely opaque. And if it was white, it was completely transparent. And then if it was gray, it was somewhere in between. Well, if I take black and reduce the opacity to about 40%, when I paint on my thumbnail, it will look gray. So I'm going to hold Option and click on here and just show you. So, gray area. If I click on that thumbnail again, you can see here it's letting a little bit of the layer beneath show through. So I could keep painting. I could even reduce the opacity even more if all I wanted was a hint of color. This little thumbnail is a pixel layer. It's actually just grayscale, so if you Option click on it and then try to select a color out of your color palette, you'll notice that it just goes to gray. That's because it's like its own little layer, almost its own little file inside of your Photoshop document, and it's grayscale. So you can't apply color to it, but you can apply the entire gray scale to it. Now, if you want to use any other tools to create black areas on here, you can do that too. So Option click to see your picture again, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit on this stem, for example. Or actually, let's just do the outside of this pear right here. So I'm going to grab one of my lasso tools. I'm on my polygon, or not my polygon, my magnetic lasso tool, and it's going to look for edges. So I'm going to click and drag around the edge of this pear. And then once I get down where there's not as much contrast, I might have to click a little more often. but I'm just going to create a selection and then come over my first dot and click to finish it. And you can use any selection tool that you want. And as long as I am on this little thumbnail with the brackets on it, I could fill that area with a color, which is either black or white or something in between. So I'm changing my color to black, and then I'm going to fill using the shortcut, which is Option Delete. You could also use your paint bucket and Command D to deselect. So that makes a solid, crisp edge. So just understand you can actually use any of the tools that you would normally use to create shapes or shades or tones. Anyway, you could use all of those on that little thumbnail. If you want to see the layer below it, remember you can turn the eyeball off and back on to see the difference. That's quite a bit of fun. And that is your first introduction to layer masks.